Hey everybody, got enough questions to do Q&A video 8, so here it is. Make sure to keep asking questions. Doesn't matter what they're about. It can be about anything. Doesn't have to be channel related. Doesn't have to be gaming related. Just can be anything. But anyway, out of breath. The first question is from Gunker1991, and he wants to know, how do I view Europe from a... He thinks I'm Canadian, apparently. But no, I'm actually from the United States. I'm American. American, yeah. No. Let's just say North American point of view. Are there any cliches I believe in? There's the stereotype of French people being complete jackasses, and that's actually true. Because I've been there, and I mean, it's not across the whole country. There are nice French people, but there's a lot of them that are just complete jackasses, and I don't know why. It's like they're so stuck up. They think everybody else anybody who isn't French is somehow inferior to them. And, I mean, Americans at least seem to think, yeah, we're better than other people, but that these people are still people. But whereas the French seem to think that they're better than everyone else, and everyone else is, like, subhuman. So, at least that's the general vibe I got from them. And, now, like I said, that's not the whole of France, but it's for the part that I was in, which was the border with Germany. And I know it's pretty bad in Paris, too. But, at least it's not like Quebec, where that's worse. And that's Canada! So, yeah, got a little jab in there. But, there's also the cliches of Europeans being more free with their liquor and their sex and their nudity. And that's also true, but that doesn't really bother me at all that much. I mean, I knew that going in. But if you really think about it, Europe isn't that different from the U.S. Or Canada. Next question is from menohaveaname, and that is, what sort of mic do you use? And I use a headset mic, and right now it's a Logitech headset that's pretty well broken. I mean, it just audio out of one earpiece, and that's about it. So, looking to replace that. I don't know what I'm going to replace it with, but I'm trying to replace it as soon as possible. The trick is finding something that's affordable. Moving on, a question from pricelessppp, and he wants to know, or he or she wants to know, are you getting the new Star Wars MMO by BioWare? Nope. Even though it's BioWare, it's an MMO, and if you've seen the My Thoughts on MMOs video, then you know I really don't like MMOs. And so, I really just can't justify getting that, even though it is a BioWare game. I really just have serious doubts on the gameplay itself and devolving into just typical MMO tedium. And on top of that, I mean, it's probably going to have a monthly fee anyway, and I can't afford to do that. Moving on to a related question by KiwiBlaster516. It is, if you could design an MMO, what aspects would you include to make it something you may actually enjoy? First thing you need to do, get rid of the grinding. Just absolutely no grinding whatsoever. Maybe working towards some objective, like a level up or something like that. Sure, but remove the tedious parts of it. I mean, make it fairly simple to actually level up. Fairly easy to do. I mean, give them plenty of experience on quests instead of just, like, 0.01% experience. But seriously, though, the rewards you get for questing and stuff in MMOs is just pathetic. It's just pathetic compared to, like, say, your single-player role-playing games. But, that's one of the things. I would personally remove PvP altogether if it was an MMORPG, except for maybe dueling. And the simple reason for that is because people focus way too much on PvP in MMOs. And it ends up being, oh, what build you got? Oh, that's not as good as my build. And it really gets annoying. People don't play the game for what it is. They play it so they can exploit the game and end up with the most unstoppable character. And it just really pisses me off. If it were not an MMORPG, then I'd say I want an MMO FPS that is actually an MMO, not just like Counter-Strike only with persistent stats and stuff. And what I mean is something kind of like MAG, where there's like 100 and something players, or more than that even. I mean, I would love to see a huge scale shooter, like maybe several hundred or even 1,000 players on one given game. That would be really cool. Just to see what it would be like, because you'd have this massive battle, and then huge map. It would run like crap, but it'd be really cool to see something like that. And if I could pull that off, it'd be really awesome. But like the MAG scale of game, where it's basically like 64 players per team. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. And you don't really see that. MAG is the only game I know of where you've had something on that scale. And so maybe something like that. But then you'd have to remove the microtransaction crap altogether, and because that can really unbalance the game. But anyway, moving on. New question from ziberteck, who I actually had to ban. Yeah. Anyway, how do you feel about Yoyo games, or in other words, game maker games? Well, I haven't really played all that many of them, but the ones I have played have been pretty okay. As for like game maker and stuff that makes game development fairly easy, sure, go for it. The more people we have in the indie development scene and getting their ideas out there and getting picked up by the bigger companies and stuff and that sort of thing, the more we have of that, the better. Because they can really get some good stuff out there. I've seen a lot of good ideas that really fall by the wayside, and they don't really get picked up again just because they were kind of an indie project that nobody really wanted to finance or anything. So it'd be cool to see that. Continuing on to a question from Omegawolfstudios. Do you think the original Unreal was underrated? If anything, that thing is overrated. The original Unreal is actually not a particularly great game. It's okay, but a lot of people make it out to be one of the best games ever made, mostly because of the graphics. At the time, the graphics were absolutely mind-blowing. And I will agree, it is very atmospheric, and that does lend to it very, very well. But the gameplay is not that fun. So, if anything, it's overrated. Now, there's plenty of games that are underrated or overrated, so, that's more of like a review question. Like, is this overrated? Well, no. Is this underrated? But, yeah, Unreal itself is actually pretty overrated, to be honest with you. Moving on to a question from HoneyIEducatedTheWeb, and this is actually kind of a long one. Do you find that many games are being watered down because so many are desperate in their attempts to appeal to the online community? And he goes on to say he finds that with online games there's more of an inclination to compete rather than necessarily enjoying yourself in a, say, relaxing, engrossing game. And he also finds that single-player games are being diluted. Single-player dilution? Definitely. I'm seeing single-player really fall by the wayside and just turn into a mess. Like, you look at Call of Duty, and up to Call of Duty 4, the single-player was actually a very big focus in the game. It was just this major thing that really got a lot of attention. It was very well done. And then after Call of Duty 4, it started going really far down. And when you got Modern Warfare 2, the single player was just a mess. That storyline was horrible. And now with Modern Warfare 3, I'm really confused about the storyline. And then I'm also seeing the other end of the spectrum where the multiplayer is being diluted to appeal to the consoles, not necessarily the online community, but the consoles. And that's really getting pathetic too. Like you look at Battlefield, for instance, where it used to be a 6-class system, and each class had a very specific role to fulfill. And now they've got 4 classes that are fulfilling roles that they really shouldn't be fulfilling. Like, for some reason, the Assault class is now mixed with the support, and at least the ammo-giving thing. Whereas the Medic somehow has taken on the support gunner role of just the machine gun. And it ends up being ridiculously overpowered and everything. It makes no sense at all. Anywho, so yeah, games are being diluted to really appeal to the online community. You're seeing less and less single-player importance, more and more multiplayer information and all that kind of stuff. They're more hyping that up than anything else. So the more single-player we can see, the better. Next question is from Lazy Muffin Gaming, and he's sure this has been asked, but what is your favorite late 90s, early 2000s RPG? I'm glad you included the 2000s, because that includes Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. That is easily my favorite RPG of all time, and yes, I will be reviewing it eventually, but not anytime soon. So you might want to stay tuned for that. That'll be on a special occasion. But that is easily my favorite role-playing game of all time, especially of the late 90s, early 2000s. Now, granted, I haven't played every RPG from that time period, so there's a lot of games that I've really skipped over and really do want to play, like the Ultima series. I would love to play those, but I've never been able to actually find them in condition that's playable. Same with the Might and Magic series, the Wizardry series. Never managed to get my hands on them. Stuff like Eye of the Beholder, I never got my hands on that kind of thing. Because I get into RPGs kind of late, so... but yeah, Arcanum, still pretty much the best one as far as I'm concerned. Next question is from Japan Sato 00, and that's, will we ever see your face, or just some part of you? Well, you've seen my hands and my arms in my packaging retrospective, and I think you've seen them in something else too, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever see my face or not. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But we'll see. I don't know. I'd have to be doing things on a whim. But I'm not much to look at, so I'm pretty ugly. So, you don't want to sit there and stare at me for very long. It'd probably, like, melt your soul or something, and you'd be screaming in agony over how horrible I look and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, moving on to a question from Froostbite. It's actually Froooost Bite. What are your plans for future reviews and classic reviews? Like, what games are you planning to review in the future? People seem to ask me this all the time, and they don't know that if you're on my forums and you're a subscriber, then I actually give you access to the subscribers only section, and that's actually where you see the review schedule. And what happens is I post it basically every time I've got new reviews up. Like, say with what I just did, I put the Delta Force review up, and I've got one more review planned for this month, and that would be on Memorial Day, which is this coming Monday. And so what I do is, when I have started putting the reviews for the given month I'm in up, I actually update that list. And what ends up happening is I post the reviews for the next month, and then that continues on and on and on. And the review schedule does vary per month. I mean, I'll do certain things for different holidays. I'll do certain things just randomly as I come across them. New releases, of course, if I can get my hands on them, then I'll review those in the month that they're in. But it's generally, you can expect the reviews that I say I'm going to review. And I'm thinking about actually doing something else with that instead of just putting it in the forums, because it seems like nobody actually gets on my forums anymore, and that kind of makes me sad. I like discussions on forums and such. But anyway. So there you go, folks. That was Q&A number 8. Make sure to keep asking questions. I need more questions for Q&A 9. I don't have any yet. So it doesn't have to be about gaming. It can be about the channel. It can be about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that, and keep those questions coming.